guys, narrative control is power. When narratives are repeated consistently, a group becomes associated with certain behaviors and people's perceptions become reality. And over time, that perception can influence action, like we're seeing in South Africa and in Ghana. So, beyond policy and economics, what we've said today is that we have to ask ourselves, what stories are we actually telling about ourselves? And who's controlling those narratives? What story should we be telling us about ourselves? And what sort of narrative should we be perpetuating? I think there's also a lack of knowledge about how powerful the media tool is. I think, Nana, that would be like the last question you ask. Do we in Africa, do you think that we understand the power of media, in shaping culture, in forming perceptions, in changing, because we grew up on the entertainment part of media, just media being a tool of entertainment or news, right? But do we understand that there are agendas and there's a purpose to this entertainment, and there is so much power and influence in how it actually shapes the way an entire group of people see themselves, how they behave, how they dress, how they talk, and just their mindsets in general?
Yeah, that understanding is, I think it's lacking, because a lot of times when we think about media shaping culture, we think about it from the perspective of culture as in attires. We think about it from the perspective of culture in language, in the big things. We think about the really big things. We don't think about it in terms of ideology. So for instance, of course, we talk about maybe Western portrayal of Africa and, as a primitive place. And then we try to portray like, no, it's there's cities here. So in our films, we try to showcase the lavish lifestyle. But one of the things I was really considering earlier this week was how nuanced some of these ideologies can shape, can reverberate across the world. And one thing that I like to talk of, like, we've recently been seeing a lot of things about toxic masculinity. And, there was this big documentary about male toxic masculinity and, undermining females and things like that. And then my mind went back to, there's the thing called the bro code, that actually has been in existence, through high school, at least my time, or university. There was a bro code kind of thing. And bro code was actually widely popularized by Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother. It's a comedy series that went global. It is, How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson, played by Neil Patrick Harris.
Stop it.
Yeah, it is. It is from that bro code came about. And even before then, there was another series called Seinfeld that, talked about man code or something. But Barney Stinson popularized this through How I Met Your Mother, which was a global phenomenon. It was a big hit show, right? And so we had this whole bro code movement where, and if you really think about it, and Barney Stinson was one of the coolest characters, arguably the coolest character on the show. So, he's like really always in sharp suits, really funny, charismatic actor, played the guy. So bro code became a thing, even in Africa, like all the way from the US, from a US show. Even within Africa, there's people talking about bro code, and they have embodied that ideology, like even up onto growing stages. And now every ideology in the next generation manifests itself in a bigger way. And now we're talking about toxic masculinity, which is like an upgrade from bro code. Bro code would be like your friends, your male friends, above any other female relationships. So imagine men abandoning their wives. I
can't believe this.
Imagine men abandoning their wives.
I know this.
To just hang out with their buddies, and that becomes a thing. And then this thing has seeped its way all the way across the world from one sitcom. It is one, no doubt it is one sitcom. So we look at all the bigger things like, we have to show that we wear masquerades and we dance and we wear costumes. And we must not lose our culture. But that culture of equal respect for, our women, or, a man being responsible for a family or being responsible for his children, choosing to take care of his family over his friends, has actually been eroded to a big extent. And if we're not careful, we actually have, a lot of these influences seeping in, and we don't really know about it. So that's one thing I really wanted to point out. Like I thought about, is like there's we think about culture as this really big thing, but there are many things about ideologies that shape how society develops. And now we have toxic masculinity as a big problem, but it started from somewhere. I don't blame Barney Stinson entirely, but we can see some of how these things are linked. That was a long answer to the question, but
No, that was a very fantastic answer, because I do know about bro code. I do know about this from back when, way back when. Not like I'm old, but I know this. I know some people who did, in the name of bro code, didn't marry the girls that they wanted to marry. They said someone had dated her and it was bro code. If someone had dated her, even if they had broken up, nobody could date that girl again. It was a thing, and I just didn't know that it
in
came from one
Nigeria,
sitcom in Nigeria. What are you talking about? Such a thing. I heard it from here. I didn't hear it from no sitcom.
and yeah, that's
So,
see, that's the funny thing, because a lot of people won't have even heard it from the
from the
sitcom
source.
itself, but
Yes.
it just became so pervasive across culture among men.
No,
It was
so we're
quite
talking
powerful.
about intentionality in creating content, right? That we have to be intentional about the sort of content that we're creating, because it has the potential, to shape culture, to influence what people are, people's beliefs, and like their ideology, as you say, even food to fashion to everything. That's how powerful, our stories, the stories we tell about ourselves are, and we can see it. People are dying in some countries because of perpetuation of such stories. It's been a phenomenal time having you on the show, guys.